Hello, good people. Welcome back to the Kuhb Games YouTube channel. My name is Evan, and we play goats here. You may be wondering by the title of the video, what's going on? Why are things changing on the channel? And I'm happy to explain. So, a year ago today, I started uploading goat format content to this channel. I'm very well known as the meme guy in goat format, the casual player, the one who just likes to have fun. And that's okay. But, as many of you know, before I played GOAT format, I was a Magic the Gathering tournament grinder. And recently, I found success in some GOAT format tournaments. And that has reignited my spark for some competitive dueling. So, since what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is actually about, at the core, is winning, you play the game to win a game, to eventually win a match, and then ultimately to win tournaments. It's not actually here for fun, because there is a winner and a loser of every game. So I've decided that we're going to leave the memes behind and the fun decks behind for a little while, and we're going to focus solely on competitive dueling, and we are going to maximize our efficiency by putting all of our time into learning stock Chaos Turbo so that we can climb the GOAT format ladder and become the best player in the world. So, before you, I have on the screen, what is stock Chaos Turbo? I pulled this off of goatformat.com, which is an incredibly good resource if you are trying to build decks and become a better player. So, let's get into it. We have one copy of Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. This is a very efficient card. So, what you want to be doing with this card is using it to banish your monsters so that you can keep your monster zones clear, and so you're not clogged there, so you can operate at maximum efficiency. It even works to banish itself, which is very, very nice in a pinch. Breaker the Magical Warrior operates in a similar way as BLS. It can help you actually destroy your spell and trap cards so that you can keep that zone clear and you can be as efficiently as possible and not get clogged up there. Chaos Sorcerer works sort of like BLS. It can also banish your own monsters. It's just a little bit weaker of a card, so I don't know if this card should actually be in the deck, especially at 2 copies. It's just a little inconsistent. Sometimes you don't have the light, sometimes you don't have the dark in your graveyard, so this card can clog up your hand and then you're not operating at maximum hand efficiency. And I think whenever you're not operating at maximum efficiency in the hand, the monster zone, or the spell and trap card zone, it's just not going to be a good time. So it's included here because this is in the stock Chaos Turbo list, so I want to give it a go without judging it too much at the very beginning, but this doesn't seem like a very good card to me. Up next, we have our first flip effect, Dekoichi. I'm not a big fan of this card either. It draws a card which helps clog up your hand. You really don't want to get yourself in the position to where you might be discarding at the end of the turn. So it's not a very efficient a card, but it does attack for 1400, so I can see the use for it in the deck. Next up, we have Gravekeeper's Spy, and I do think that this is one of the best cards in the deck, and the reason being is it combos really well with Nobleman of Crossout. And like I said, we want to be focusing on maximum efficiency and consistency, and what better way than to use Gravekeeper's Spy with your Nobleman of Crossout to thin your deck. You not only get to take out a monster from your monster card zone so that your monster zones are operating at maximum efficiency, but you also get to thin your deck of 2 more copies of Gravekeeper's Spy, and that is excellent. So this card is very good. And even when you don't have your Nobleman of Crossout, if your opponent attacks into it, you can thin your deck by getting another one. And the low attack points, I think, is what really makes it better than Dekoichi, because you can attack it into your opponent's monsters to keep your monster zones very efficient and clear. Past that, we have a Kaiku, the Ghost Destroyer. This card has a very high attack, but a very low defense, which I think could be useful. Whenever it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you do have to, well, you don't have to, but it does have a downside that you can remove monsters from your opponent's graveyard. I don't believe we're going to be doing this. This helps set up the opponent's dimension fusions, return from the different dimensions, and stuff like that. So Kaiku, I think we're just going to have in here as a beater, and that sounds good to me. Every deck needs some sort of a beater. Magician of Faith, the whole purpose of this card is basically we're either going to get back Book of Moon so that we can flip it back face down so that our opponent can't attack into it and deal a whole bunch of damage to our life points, or we're going to use it to get back Heavy Storm in case we have any stray spell or traps sitting on the field clogging up our spell and trap card zone. We can use Heavy Storm to go ahead and clear those, so we're operating at maximum efficiency there. Mystic Tomato is mostly in the deck to go grab Gravekeeper Spies so that we can thin our deck out. Maybe we go grab Night Assailant from time to time, but it just depends on if we've already knocked our Gravekeeper Spies, I believe. Night Assailant, I'm really not sure why this card is in the deck. Maneater Bug is a much more powerful attacker than this, but maybe Night Assailant being a dark is good enough to push it over the edge there. We'll have to see through testing, but I think this card might be cuttable. Sangan is a card that I also kind of don't like. In my testing that I've done with Chaos Turbo before, Sangan just allows you to put another card in your hand, which gives your opponent information, which is really bad, and it also gets you closer to having to discard at the end of the turn, and that's just not very efficient. But we are including the card because it can search out our Gravekeeper Spy, which we can then knock to thin the deck. So Sangan is okay here. Sinister Serpent I think is really good against the aggressive decks. You can keep setting it, so if they never draw a second monster, they're just going to lose because you can keep getting Sinister Serpent back every single turn. It's an incredible blocker. Thunder Dragon is probably the best card in this deck. You can activate it, go grab a Thunder Dragon, activate that, go grab another Thunder Dragon, then you can activate that. So you not only thin your deck for consistency, but you also take cards out of your hand to operate on maximum efficiency in your hand. You don't get it clogged, you don't get yourself to the point where you're going to have to start discarding for turn. So I do like Thunder Dragon a lot. Book of Moon is a pretty good card. Sometimes it'll clog up your spell and trap card zone, so you're not as efficient there, but it does help you flip down any Gravekeeper Spies that you have that are face up so that you can then knock them if you've drawn that. And it also is a very good answer to Spirit Reaper, which I think this deck really struggles with. Another good use of Book of Moon is to protect your Breaker the Magical Warrior if your opponent responds with a Torrential Tribute or a Ring of Destruction or something like that. Next up, we have Nobleman of Crossout, probably the best spell in the deck. Like I said before, this card allows you to banish your spy and get the rest of them out of the deck. You can also do this with Dekoichi. That works just as well. Thins out the deck completely. Very nice card to have access to. Just very efficient. Keeps your deck consistent. Delinquent Duo is an interesting card. It's very powerful, but you don't want to use it right off. You really want to get some more information from your opponent's hand. This card can run right into Electric Snake, Elephant Statue of Disaster, Elephant Statue of Blessing, stuff like that. So I don't really like activating it early, so it can be a little cloggy, but we've opted to include it, I suppose, in stock Chaos Turbo because it can be good in the late game. Graceful Charity is really good at getting rid of like some of the pesky spell and traps so that you don't have to either keep them in hand and clog up your hand for less efficiency there, or set them on the field where they may not get used. Nothing is for sure going to get used if you set it on the field, so Graceful Charity just very good at getting those pesky spell and traps out of your hand and getting you closer to your combo of Nobleman of Crossout and Gravekeeper Spy. Pot of Greed draws 2 cards, which is pretty good. The reason that we have this in here is to get closer to our main combo of the Nobleman of Crossout and the Gravekeeper Spy. Other than that, it does clog up your hand, so you're operating with less efficiency there, and it does get you closer to having to discard in the end of the turn, which you really don't want to be doing. Card Destruction, sort of like Graceful Charity, helps you get the pesky spell and traps out of your hand, helps you get closer to your combo of Nobleman of Crossout and Gravekeeper Spy, helps you get closer to your Thunder Dragons, and it also is sort of a -1, so it keeps your hand free and operating at maximum efficiency. Like I stated before with the Heavy Storm, this is mostly here to make sure that our spell and trap zone remains clear and operates at maximum efficiency. Snatch Steal is good for taking an opponent's monster. I'm not really sure what we would do with this. I guess we could flip it down with Book of Moon, or we could Raigeki break it once we have taken it or something like that. But Snatch Steal is just a really cool card. I like looking at it. Raigeki break is sort of like copies 2 through 4 of Heavy Storm. We're mostly going to be using this to take out our back row so that we can remain unclogged in the spell and trap card zones, and we can remain as efficiently as possible there. Trap Dust Shoot is an interesting card. It is just like Delinquent Duo. You really want to gain more information before you activate this card so that you're more aware of what you actually want to do with it when you do activate it. Really good in the late game once your opponent has given you a lot more information. So this card is fairly efficient. Not amazing in the early game, but once you get to the late game, it seems pretty alright. Ring of Destruction is very good for taking out one of our monsters and just keeping our monster zones free and efficient. Torrential Tribute is much better than Ring of Destruction at doing that job. Can take out all of our monsters and keep our monster zone completely efficient and clear. We don't want to clog up these zones really at all, so Torrential Tribute, a very good inclusion here. My side deck was sent to me by a teammate. This is basically built specifically to beat warriors. Whenever you're playing competitive goats, the only 2 decks that you really care about are Chaos Turbo for the mirror match or warriors. So I wanted a side deck that was built specifically to beat warriors, and this is exactly what this deck is meant to do. So that's the deck. Let's get out onto the ladder and play some matches. Okay, we are here with our first match. I will roll a die to see who goes first, because I believe it is better to not create patterns so that people don't know how you are going to react in certain situations. The opponent says to have fun. I hope they have fun as well. Here, we have an okay hand. I think what we want to do is give the hand a good shuffle, and then we can send Thunder Dragon to the graveyard. I will go into the deck and grab one more Thunder Dragon. And then I will use this Thunder Dragon to also get sent to the graveyard to go get our last Thunder Dragon. And then to make sure that our hand is as efficient as possible and isn't getting clogged so that we don't ever have to discard, I'm going to go ahead and discard the other copy of Thunder Dragon. And then I really don't want the opponent to Nobleman of Cross out me, so I'm going to go ahead and summon Magician of Faith in attack position. And I'm also going to set the Raigeki break. And I will pass the turn from there. I think we have definitely maximized our efficiency. We have played around our opponent's potential removal. And we have left our hand unclogged. And if we want to, we can make sure that our field is also left unclogged. Our opponent summons Breaker the Magical Warrior, and that's very fine. We do have an answer here. Yeah, they're going to target our Raigeki break, and we are going to get some value out of this. I'm going to activate this, and I'm going to send BLS to the graveyard to destroy my Magician of Faith. And this has cleared up our battlefield, so we are now operating at max efficiency. The opponent is attacking with their Breaker, which is fine. We only take 1,600 life points, but our life points are a resource. Here, I don't want to take any damage, I don't believe. So I think the play here is to actually just set the Breaker, because if we summon Dekoichi or Night Assailant, the opponent is going to deal more damage to us, and I don't want to summon my flip effect monsters into a potential knock. So let's just set the Breaker. We will continue to play around knock. If they knock our Breaker, it's okay, because it's not a flip effect. Okay, our opponent has used Delinquent Duo. We will discard both of the cards in our hand. And I will use Night Assailant to get back the Dekoichi. No, I will get back the Magician of Faith, because the Magician of Faith doesn't have a spell card in the graveyard. so that we can continue operating at maximum efficiency and we won't clog up our hand or our spell and trap zones. The opponent attacks with the breaker. That's fine. Once again, our life points are a resource, so we're operating as efficiently as possible here. We draw card destruction, which I don't think I want to use yet, because the Magician of Faith, I don't want it to be able to get back a spell here, so I think I want to just block 300 damage from the opponent, so I will go ahead and summon the Magician of Faith. And to keep, I know this will clog our spell and trap zone, but we'll be able to activate it next turn, so I'll set the card destruction, and I'll just pass the turn. And hopefully we will be able to make ourselves a little bit more efficient next turn. Okay, the opponent flips Heavy Storm, which is fine. We lose our card destruction, but that means our spell and trap card zones are open, and they are efficient. The opponent activates Graceful Charity here, which is good. They discard Air Knight Parshath and Knight Assailant. Okay, so they don't have a card to get back with the Knight Assailant, which means they are also playing for maximum efficiency and consistency, and I can respect that. The opponent also using their life source, or their life points, as a resource, which is very good. As I've said, life points are a resource that should be used, and they do get a draw off of Air Knight. So you'll see that the opponent has clogged up their spell and trap zone and their monster zone. I don't recommend doing this, but the opponent does have a Ring of Destruction here, so the opponent is going to win the game. Unfortunately, we didn't have anything in our hand to be able to deal with this, and we will have to go to game 2, and we'll have to rethink our strategy. I think we played pretty well there. Sometimes you just get a little bit unlucky, and that's okay. But the opponent showed that they are willing to attack our life points, so I think we want the Mystic Walks here. And I think we definitely want the Threatening Roars. And let's see, what do we not want? I believe we probably don't want to cut, or I think we probably don't want the Trap Dust Shoots in the deck. And we need to cut 3 more cards. The Thunder Dragons are very good at being consistent. The Kaiku is not good here, because the opponent could have Dimension Fusion, or return from the different dimension. And I don't believe we need these Chaos Sorcerers really in this matchup. They could clog up our hand, and I want to leave my hand as open and efficient as possible. So let's make those changes and see if we can win this game too. Okay. We have opened on double Thunder Dragon, and that is okay, because that keeps our hand nice and open and efficient. We can just discard all of these. It's not really that big of a deal. We'll go get our other Thunder Dragon from the deck here. And then we will go ahead and discard both copies of Thunder Dragon. I don't want to use this Delinquent Duo yet, because I want some more information on our opponent's hand. So I think I'm actually going to set it. And once again, I'm going to play around Omen of Crossout. I'm going to go ahead and summon the Dekoichi. And maybe in the future turns, we'll be able to make our hand and our field a little bit more streamlined, so we don't have a card clogging up our spell and trap zone, we don't have a monster clogging up our monster zone, and we can just keep our hand as efficient and streamlined as possible. The opponent has paid 1,000 life points, and they have activated Delinquent Duo, which is actually pretty good for us here. I don't mind sending either of these cards to the graveyard. Again, this just keeps our hand the most consistent and streamlined as possible. Asura Priest comes down and attacks over the Dekoichi, but that's okay. Our Dekoichi didn't get knocked, and that is the most important thing here. The opponent sets a back row, sends the Asura Priest back to their hand. We draw a Book of Moon, which is not great, but I believe I will go ahead and set it. This is clogging up our spell and trap card zone a little bit here, but our monster zone and our hand have remained very efficient and streamlined. The opponent is going to activate Graceful Charity. Okay, that's a very good card. But as you can see, the opponent still has a bunch of cards in their hand. They could have discarded these Thunder Dragons a little earlier. So I think that was a little bit of a mistake. They're definitely not playing to be as consistent or streamlined as possible. So I think we are in a totally fine position because I believe we have outplayed our opponent here. Now I will go ahead and summon this Mystic Tomato and see if this works out. Unfortunately, it is a card that stays on the board. So we are clogging up our monster zone a little bit, but the opponent is going to go ahead and Ring of Destruction this, and I'm going to go ahead and let it go. I don't really want to have a monster on my side of the field. I just want to keep things as efficient as possible. Like I said, as we're learning Chaos Turbo, the thing that you must do is remain efficient and focus on consistency. That is what the deck is built to do. So the opponent drawing another card, once again, keeping a whole bunch of cards in hand. They're going to summon Sangan and they're going to attack. And once again, our life points are a resource here. So I'm going to go ahead and use those. And I'm going to take the full 2400 damage. The opponent sets a back row, that sounds good to me, and passes the turn. We draw Raigeki Break, which isn't doing a whole lot here. We do need a card to discard to it, but I think I will go ahead and set it. Again, we have two zones. We have the monster card zone, we have our hand that's operating as efficiently as possible, and I'm just going to go ahead and Book of Moon this Dekoichi, because I don't want any extra spell and traps just sitting on the field. That doesn't seem like a great idea to me. Okay, the opponent is going to reflip that Dekoichi. That is fine. We have made their hand less efficient. And they're going to set a monster. Okay. We don't have any way to interact with these monsters, but that's okay. If the opponent plays out two more monsters, then their monster slots are clogged. Okay, we draw Graceful Charity, which is going to be very good here because we're going to be able to go ahead and make all of our zones as efficient as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the Raigeki Break, send this Graceful Charity to the graveyard, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my Delinquent Duo. And then I'm going to pass the turn. And as you can see, we're operating on maximum efficiency now. We have nothing clogging up our monster zone, our spell and trap card zone, or our hand. So I think we're in an okay spot here. Our life points are a little low, but you know, your life points don't really matter as long as you have one. Life points are a resource, and you need to use that to your advantage during each game. The opponent is playing a lot of spells here, but once again, like, look at their hand. Their hand has a lot of cards in it. I would not recommend doing this. They're going to summon Tsukiyomi, which is fine. They can't reflip their Magician of Faith because they already had the manual change on the monster this turn. But they are free to attack. Okay. The opponent is going to Nobleman of Crossout, their Magician of Faith, and this is actually a very good play for me. This will get the Magician of Faiths out of my deck, which deck thins. And that is exactly what I want out of my flip effect monsters. So let's just go ahead and get those out of there. The opponent decides to clog up their spell and trap card zone again. And now they will have to send the Tsukiyomi back to their hand, and they will be forced to discard a card, which is why you don't want to have a bunch of cards in hand. You run the risk of having to discard at the end of the turn. Okay, and the opponent's going to discard Chaos Sorcerer, which sounds good to me. I'm going to go ahead and draw Ring of Destruction. This card is excellent here. We would be able to destroy our opponent's Sangan and put yet another card in their hand, which could be very, very good. So we'll go ahead and set the Ring of Destruction and pass the turn. The opponent summons Chaos Sorcerer. That sounds good to me. I'm going to go ahead and let that go. They're going to activate getting rid of their Sangan. That is a very heads-up play. So now I can't put another card in their hand to clog up their hand. Tsukiyomi comes down. They're going to activate Torrential Tribute. And I'm going to activate Ring of Destruction in response. And I'm going to target this Chaos Sorcerer and see if it works. Ah, see? The opponent is not very happy about this play because they realized we were the most efficient player in this game. And unfortunately, our life points have been reduced to 0, so now we don't have that as a resource anymore. but we played very efficiently and consistently, and I think that's really what we want to take from here. We may have gotten sacked a little bit in this game. The opponent definitely drew better than us, but I think we played pretty well. Pretty close to perfect, actually. If I really had to guess, I will watch the replay later. But as far as I know, we played the best deck perfectly. We just got sacked a little bit, but that's okay. Sometimes that is going to happen in GOAT format. The important thing is to just dust that off, get back on the ladder, keep playing as efficiently and consistently as possible, and the wins will come from there. So let's get a second match. Okay, we have arrived at our second match. Once again, I will roll a die because I believe that not creating a pattern for rock, paper, scissors is a very good idea. So once again, I believe we're going to keep the focus here on playing perfectly, being as efficient as possible, and keeping our deck consistent, and the wins will start to come. We won't get sacked every match, that is for sure. As long as we keep outplaying our opponents and playing as efficiently as possible, everything will be okay. So, our opponent's name is Andrew, and they are going first. Let's see what cards they decide to play here. We have the Thunder Dragon once again in our hand, which will be good for keeping our hand clear and efficient. Our opponent leads on a face-down monster and a face-down back row. That's pretty good. Nobleman of Crossout is actually a really good draw here as well. So what I think I want to do is go ahead and send this Thunder Dragon to the graveyard. We'll go ahead and pick up another Thunder Dragon here. And then I will send this other Thunder Dragon to the graveyard to pick up the third copy of Thunder Dragon. I will then go ahead and discard that Thunder Dragon to the graveyard. And now we have made our hand a little bit better here. I believe I'm going to go ahead and set this Mystic Tomato. And then I'm going to activate Nobleman of Crossout, getting rid of my own monster. So now I can go ahead and activate my card destruction. I believe that's going to be the best play here. This gets our hand to where it's not going to be clogged. We're not going to run the risk of having to discard at the end of the turn, which is very nice. See, we draw Chaos Sorcerer, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of don't like playing two of them. It sits in your hand, and it clogs up your hand, because we don't have a dark in our graveyard. So we're unable to play this, so we can't operate at maximum efficiency here. Maybe we should actually cut this card from the deck because it doesn't look very consistent to me. I'm not sure what other people really see in this card. I want to operate as efficiently as possible, and just having a card stuck in your hand is not great. You don't want to clog up your hand or your spell and trap card zone or your monster card zone. But the opponent, the opponent has 4 cards in their hand, and they're not playing anything, so they're at risk of having to discard at the end of the turn here in a couple of turns. So it's not the ideal position for them to be in. Here, I think I want to get a little bit more information on my opponent's hand. Just like last time, we just really want to know what we're discarding. We don't want to walk into an Electric Snake or something along those lines. Could be an Elephant Statue of Disaster or something like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and set the Delinquent Duo. Unfortunately, we're not operating at maximum efficiency here. We have a card clogging up our spell and trap card zone. We have a card clogging up our hand. But that's okay. Maybe we'll be all right. We might draw something that could get us a little bit more information on our opponent's hand. And then we'll be able to play the Delinquent Duo. Maybe the opponent doesn't attack here, because Delinquent Duo is a very good bluff. It is a scary card. That is for sure. The opponent turns a giant rat to defense position. So we have successfully maneuvered against our opponent. So we're at least playing efficiently on the mind games. But the opponent is going to reduce our life points to 0 here with the Injection Fairy Lily. Just a very unfortunate game. As you could see, we just got a little unlucky with our deck. We drew the Chaos Sorcerer, which was just dead. We never had a dark in our graveyard, so we had that clogging up our hand. We didn't draw anything to get any sense of what might be in our opponent's hand, so we couldn't activate the Delinquent Duo. Here, I think the opponent's deck, Injection Fairy Lily, and Giant Rat. Giant Rat special summons. So I think we actually want to bring in the Royal Oppressions here. And I think we want to bring in the Jowgen the Spiritualist. And that sounds like a really good idea to me. Our opponent didn't play any back row at all, so I think we can actually cut the Breaker. And we saw that Chaos Sorcerer was not very good there, so I think we're actually going to cut those. And what else is not good? Our opponent isn't an aggro deck. They look to be a special summon heavy deck with the Giant Rat, so I think we can cut our Sinister Serpent. That card doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me here. Delinquent Duo just clogged up our spell and trap card zone. If we're not going to draw anything to give us any information on our opponent's hand, I don't think it's a good card to have here. So I think I'm actually just going to cut that. So let's make those swaps and see if we can get a little bit luckier in game 2. Okay. We've drawn a Jowgen the Spiritualist and a Royal Oppression. So all of these things are actually pretty good here. Let's go ahead and lead on Graceful Charity, I think. That makes a lot of sense to me. Okay. We've drawn our 3 cards. I think what we actually want to do here is we want to get rid of these Book of Moons, because we don't know if they're going to be useful yet. The opponent may not have drawn any monsters. We'll get rid of our Graceful Charity, and we're going to go ahead and discard Thunder Dragon, like before. A very good card at thinning the deck, keeping us as consistent as possible, and also getting cards out of our hand. And then we'll discard the second Thunder Dragon as well. And then we'll go ahead and discard this third Thunder Dragon. So we're opening up our hand to being as efficient as possible. And like I said in the deck profile, we can set this Gravekeeper Spy, and then we can go ahead and Nobleman of Crossout, so that we can go ahead and get our spies out of the deck. And this is good for deck thinning, which is very good for consistency. And now I'll go ahead and set the Royal Oppression and pass the turn. I don't want to flip it up immediately because I don't want the opponent to not summon out their giant rats. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it face down and see if this will be okay. I believe we're in a good position. The Royal Oppression being a continuous trap card isn't great because it does clog up our spell and trap card zone, and that's not really what we want. But the opponent summons Sangan, which is a very good card for us to see here, because now we can put another card in our opponent's hand, and we can get them closer to having to discard. So we can get some free +1s. Here, we draw a Trap Dust Shoot. That's not really doing a whole lot of good here. Unfortunately, yeah, I think we have to play around Nobleman of Crossout. I don't really want to hurt my opponent's life total too much here, because that is a resource, and that's just not giving me a whole lot, but we do want to attack over this Sangan, just so that we can get another card for our opponent in their hand. Because we're operating on a little bit better efficiency in our hand. We do have this Jowgen sort of clogging it up a little bit, but our opponent is getting dangerously close to having to discard. Our opponent gets Pyramid Turtle, which is a very good card at deck thinning, but I'm going to set this Trap Dust Shoot and pass the turn. And I'm going to see what my opponent does so that I can see what they play before I activate the Trap Dust Shoot, just so I can get a little bit more information first to decide what I want to take from their hand. Well, let's see what they do here. We know they have a Pyramid Turtle. We don't know of anything else. And that's the whole reason that you want to wait on the Trap Dust Shoot, is you want more information first, just to inform your play. Okay, the opponent does summon the Pyramid Turtle. That sounds good to me. I don't think our opponent is going to get anything good from the Pyramid Turtle, so I'm not going to activate the Royal Oppression just yet. We can use our Jowgen to destroy any special summon monster, so I think we just continue to use our life total as a resource here, as we've been doing, playing as efficiently and consistently as possible. And we just take some damage here. So our opponent summons Ryukoki, which is not a very consistent card. I wouldn't advise putting this card in your deck, and then they're just going to pass the turn. So here, I still don't think I need to activate Trap Dust Shoot. Our opponent just has a whole bunch of cards in hand, and I need more information of what they're putting on the board before we activate that card. Here, Raigeki Break is actually very good, so we're going to leave the Jowgen in hand, but we're going to get rid of it with our Raigeki Break soon enough. So I'm going to go ahead and set that, and that can actually get this Royal Oppression out of the way so that it's not clogging up our spell and trap card zone. We'll see what the opponent activates here. I hope that they will give us some more information on their hand, one way or another, so that we'll be able to activate this Trap Dust Shoot. But we'll see. We'll see what they do for us here. Just need a little bit of information to be able to activate it. Premature Burial. I'm not scared of either of these monsters, but I'm gonna think about it for a second. And yeah, I'm gonna let my opponent get back the Sangan. That seems good to me. This is a lethal amount of damage on the board, but maybe the opponent doesn't attack with everything. Okay, the opponent attacks with a Sangan. We'll take the 1000, that's fine. We'll use our life points as a resource here. And we will take the 1400 from Dekoichi. Okay, and then when the Ryukoki attacks, I'm actually going to activate the Raigeki Break. I'm going to pitch the Jowgen, and I'm going to destroy the Royal Oppression. And then in the battle step, I'm going to go ahead and activate the Trap Dust Shoot. I think the opponent has given me enough information now that I can go ahead and activate this and see what's going on in their hand. Information is very key in this game. I'm not too worried about any of these cards at this point. I guess I want to send the Tribe back because that allows our opponent to discard cards, and it helps them unclog their monster zones and their hand, which is very good. So I'm going to take the 2400 here from the Ryukoki. Unfortunately, our life points are going to go to 0. I'll give my opponent the GGs, though. We got very unlucky in that game. Our deck just didn't give us the tools we needed. We didn't ever draw into one of our Chaos monsters, but we played fairly efficiently. You can see that we have left our monster zone, our spell and trap zone, and our hand unclogged. And if we keep playing that way perfectly, efficiently, consistently, we're eventually going to get there. It is a long road to get to the top of the mountain that is GOAT format, but I believe that with this play and learning, we will get there. So I hope you all will continue to stick with me on this journey, and we can all grow together. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back with the next one.